Regular oil changes aren't just a mandatory task in your maintenance manual. They're truly how you protect the heart of your car, the engine. A properly lubricated engine runs smoothly, lasts longer, and is far less likely to suffer costly damage. Yet, the harsh reality is that many drivers inadvertently harm their engines simply by trusting old wives' tales or tips with no technical basis. In this article, we're diving deep into the 5 most common mistakes after an oil change, separating myth from fact and explaining the technical mechanics behind each one. Keep reading to see if you're making any of these mistakes. Among all the errors that can happen after an oil change, one of the most dangerous yet surprisingly common mistakes is installing a double gasket, also known as a double O-ring. This occurs when the rubber gasket from the old oil filter remains stuck on the engine's contact surface and a new filter is installed on top. The result is 2 layers of gaskets stacked, the oil filter cannot seal properly, and oil finds its way out, silently, without you even noticing. So why does the old gasket stick so stubbornly, ready to wreak havoc? Over time, the gasket expands due to high operating temperatures, causing it to adhere tightly to the metal surface. The torque from the previous oil change pressed the gasket into place, making it nearly stuck when the filter is removed. Some spin-on oil filters even use soft gaskets that easily separate from the filter body when opened, but love sticking to the engine instead. In other words, if you don't check carefully, the old gasket is quietly waiting to sabotage your next oil change, turning a tiny part into a catastrophic hazard. When a double gasket occurs, the oil filter cannot press firmly against the engine's surface, and oil pressure creates a gap where the gaskets overlap. Oil leaks out, failing to seal completely, streaming or spraying when RPMs increase. In reality, you're not only wasting money on an oil change, but also setting a trap for your engine that nobody wants to see. The sudden drop in oil pressure prevents the lubrication system from maintaining a proper oil film between moving parts. Crankshaft and camshaft bearings experience dry friction, wearing quickly or damaging their surfaces. If oil is lost fast enough, the engine could even seize in a matter of seconds at high speed. And if you keep driving without realizing this mistake, oil leakage can range from minor to severe, depending on the gasket misalignment. At high speeds or elevated oil temperatures, the oil thins and leaks faster. Oil pressure gauges or warning lights may illuminate late, tricking you into thinking everything is fine. Drivers can easily mistake it for a leak from a seal or an oil sensor, leading to misdiagnosis and more money spent on repairs. Signs of a double gasket are actually quite noticeable if you pay attention. Large oil spots appear just minutes after starting the engine. A strong flow of oil around the filter area when revving. A loose filter even when torqued correctly, or streaks on the driveway right after leaving the garage. Common causes of this mistake include not visually or manually checking after removing the old filter, technicians rushing and skipping surface cleaning, soft spin-on gaskets that separate easily, and inexperienced DIYers unaware that a check is required. The good news is that fixing a double gasket isn't complicated. First, shut off the engine immediately to prevent further oil pressure loss. Remove the new filter, check for and remove any old gasket still stuck on the surface, then clean thoroughly with a lint-free cloth. When reinstalling a new filter, apply a thin layer of oil to the gasket. Torque it to the manufacturer's recommendation, and top off any lost oil if needed. Preventing this mistake is also straightforward. Always wipe and inspect the mating surface after removing the old filter. Check if any gasket remains on the filter or has fallen back onto the engine. Run your fingers along the edge to ensure only a single gasket layer remains, and never install a new filter until you are certain the old gasket has been completely removed. Just a few seconds of careful checking can save you thousands of dollars in unnecessary repairs. You've probably heard the myth that draining oil when the engine is cold will only release 60–70% of the oil, right? If you believed that, congratulations! You just fell for one of those car maintenance legends that garages and DIY forums love to repeat. The truth is, cold oil still flows out almost completely. Not only that, this misunderstanding leads many people to worry unnecessarily or take overly complicated measures that aren't needed. Let's break down the technical reasons and the proper procedure for effective and safe oil draining. Engine oil at low temperatures is more viscous, so it flows more slowly at first, especially in the first few seconds after opening the drain plug. This makes many people think most of the oil is stuck inside the engine, but that's not entirely true. The oil will still fully drain under gravity, and the deposits and soot that settle at the bottom of the oil pan are not permanently trapped. In other words, cold oil is not the traitor the rumors make it out to be. If you warm the engine for a few minutes before draining, the oil reaches about 140 degrees Celsius, or 60 degrees Celsius, which is enough to reduce viscosity significantly. The oil becomes thinner, flows faster, and helps wash out fine deposits and long-settled soot. However, there's no need to boil the oil like after a long highway run. Oil at 120 degrees Celsius, 248 degrees Celsius, can be dangerous when draining, shooting out hot streams, and even damaging the threads or plastic oil pan. In short, slightly warm oil is enough to optimize flow rate and cleaning efficiency. The real difference between draining cold oil and warm oil isn't that big. Cold draining is slower and may leave a thin film on the pan walls, but the total oil left behind is usually under 5%, not the 30 to 40% sensationalized by many articles. Warm oil drains faster and carries more deposits, but this difference is just optimization, not a critical issue. So why does cold oil still almost fully drain? The oil pan is designed as a reservoir, and gravity pulls oil to the bottom. When the car is off, oil from high points, including turbos or the valve cover, flows down. The oil pump pickup is right at the bottom and doesn't trap oil except for a very thin normal layer. If you still want to optimize drainage, the reason warm oil drains slightly better is that heat reduces viscosity, allowing the oil to move more freely and carry light deposits along. Cold oil works too, just more slowly, leaving a small amount of residue. This is perfectly normal and harmless to the engine, but warming the oil gives that spotlessly clean feeling, satisfying psychologically and making the maintenance process feel professional. Safety is crucial. Draining oil that's too hot can cause severe burns, spray hot oil under pressure, and damage plastic pans or threads. That's why experts recommend starting the engine for 2 to 5 minutes to slightly warm the oil, then shutting it off, waiting 30 to 60 seconds for the oil to settle, and only then opening the drain plug. Make sure all oil has drained before reinstalling the plug. If you ever thought, the more oil, the better, surely the lubrication is perfect, then congratulations. You've just joined the club of people unknowingly destroying their engines. Overfill isn't immediately obvious, but it silently wrecks the lubrication system, putting expensive engine components under extreme stress for a simple action everyone assumes is safe. Engines are designed with an optimal oil capacity. The oil level should be within the min-max marks on the dipstick. When you go well above max, the crankshaft starts churning the oil. At high RPMs, the oil is foamed into bubbles, a phenomenon called aeration. Imagine trying to create a stable lubricating film with soda instead of oil. The result? The oil pump struggles, oil pressure fluctuates, and crucial components like bearings, camshafts, and the crankshaft journal experience dry friction. The severity depends on how much oil you overfilled. A slight overfill of about 0.3–0.5 quart, 300–500 ml, is usually tolerated without immediate damage. Though the PCV system works harder, crankcase pressure rises slightly, and some oil vapor may be sucked into the intake. Minor issues often overlooked, but over 1 quart, over 1 liter, things get seriously dangerous. Aeration intensifies, oil pressure drops sharply, oil is drawn into the PCV system, causing blue smoke, dirty throttle bodies, intake buildup, and in the worst case, bearing or camshaft damage, even engine knock due to localized lubrication failure. The warning signs aren't too hard to spot. Slight oil leaks from increased crankcase pressure, blue or bluish-white smoke from the exhaust, flickering oil pressure light, unstable idle, or burning oil smell in the engine bay. Yet many shrug it off as normal smell and pay the price with long-term damage. Preventing this trap is straightforward but requires patience. Always add oil gradually, about 100 to 200 milliliters at a time. Wait a few seconds for the oil to settle in the pan, then check the dipstick. Make sure the car is on level ground. The engine has been off at least 5 minutes after running. The ideal oil level is close to max, but not exceeding it. Don't forget to cross-check the engine's specified capacity. Every engine is different. If you accidentally overfill, here's the fix. For a small overfill, siphon off some oil via the dipstick tube. For a large overfill, drain some from the drain plug or siphon from above to reach the correct level. After adjusting, check for smoke, leaks, and oil pressure. If the car has been running with too much oil, inspect the PCV system and intake to prevent long-term issues. Remember, keeping oil at the manufacturer's recommended level is crucial. More is not always better. Engines will run dry for a few seconds after an oil change if the filter isn't pre-filled. This idea comes from the days when oil filters and pumps weren't as advanced, and a few seconds without oil could actually wear engine components. But let's be clear, most cars from 2000 onward are equipped with highly efficient oil pumps that bring pressure up almost instantly. The actual dry running time is only 1 or 2 seconds, and trust us, that's not nearly enough to destroy your engine. The pre-fill discussion also depends on the filter design. Some filters are mounted horizontally or upside down, like many spin-on filters for Honda or Ford, making pre-fill simply impossible. Trying to pour oil into these filters just creates a mess, spilling oil all over the engine bay without improving lubrication. OEMs don't even require pre-fill for these types. When is pre-fill actually useful? Only for cars with vertically mounted filters and large filter capacities, where pouring a little oil into the filter before installation can help lubricate the filter media faster. But let's be honest, even in these cases, modern pumps make pre-fill more of an optimization than a necessity. The one crucial step you should never skip is lubricating the filter gasket before installation. A thin layer of oil prevents twisting, tearing, or leaks, ensuring a proper seal and preventing early leaks. This is a step emphasized by OEMs like Honda, Toyota, and Ford. Filling the filter with oil? For most modern cars, it's a redundant action that many mistakenly think is necessary. Common misconceptions abound. Not pre-filling means the engine runs dry and will fail immediately. Or, pre-fill is always good for all filters. In reality, modern oil pumps build pressure almost instantly. And for horizontally or upside-down filters, pre-fill is not only useless but also makes a mess in the engine bay. The proper technical procedure is simple. Before installing the new filter, clean the mounting surface, apply a thin layer of oil to the rubber gasket. Install the filter to the torque recommended in the owner's manual. Start the engine and check for leaks around the filter. That's it. No need to fill the filter with oil unless specifically required by the manufacturer. Many people think that pouring the correct amount of oil and driving off is safe enough. Here's some bad news. The problem isn't that you added the right amount, it's that you skipped a critically important step, checking the oil level immediately after the first engine start. In our experience, skipping this step is like inviting small, or sometimes big, risks into your engine. When you start the engine for the first time after an oil change, the oil pump immediately draws oil from the pan into the new filter and oil passages. The new filter, whether pre-filled or not, is initially empty, and the volume of oil needed to fill the filter causes a slight drop on the dipstick. How much? Around 0.2–0.5 quart, depending on filter and oil pan capacity, not the exaggerated 0.8–1.2 quart often warned about. If you skip this check, the temporary low oil level will reduce oil pressure. During those first few seconds, critical components like camshafts, bearings, and lifters may experience suboptimal lubrication. It sounds alarming, but the impact is usually minor, provided you check and adjust promptly. For sensitive engines, such as those with turbos or aluminum bearings, this habit can actually save you from unnecessary initial wear. The OEM procedure is simple, but often ignored. After changing the oil and installing the filter, start the engine for about 30 to 60 seconds to allow the oil pump to fill the filter and passages. Turn off the engine, wait 2 to 3 minutes for the oil to fully settle in the pan, then check the dipstick on level ground. If the level is below min, add oil immediately to reach the correct level. If it's between min and max, you're safe. This step takes less than 2 minutes, but ensures proper oil pressure and lubrication from the very start. See? Pre-fill was never a perfect solution, and even if you do it, checking the oil level is mandatory. It's like preparing a perfect meal, but forgetting to taste it before serving. Sometimes a few missing drops of seasoning can ruin the whole experience. A small but important note: don't run the engine too long when the new filter is completely dry. Just enough to fill the filter is sufficient. And remember to check the dipstick after 2 to 3 minutes to avoid false readings from oil still in the filter or passages. This simple step ensures stable oil pressure, especially for modern engines, turbos, or sensitive lubrication components. Overall, the 5 common mistakes after each oil change that we've analyzed mostly stem from baseless word-of-mouth advice, technically inaccurate mechanics, or simply from our lack of understanding of the intricate lubrication mechanisms inside the engine. These seemingly harmless misconceptions can actually cause your engine to suffer wear, unstable oil pressure, and costly damage. The good news is, simply avoiding these mistakes can extend your engine's life by tens of thousands of kilometers without spending an extra penny on emergency fixes or repairs. Indeed, mastering basic procedures, following OEM instructions, and respecting warnings like OLM or proper oil levels is far more valuable than any online hack or shortcut. Have you ever made any of the mistakes on this list? Share with us in the comments below. Finally, please note that the content in this video is drawn from publicly available sources, vehicle manuals, and automotive research. It is meant purely for educational and informational purposes, and is not intended to endorse any specific brand or product. Always double-check information, follow your vehicle manufacturer's recommendations, and make informed decisions when performing maintenance. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.